Hello, Internet Technology students. This is the how-to for Chapter 1 of your Head First HTML and CSS book. And so what I'm going to be doing here is going through the Chapter 1 of the book, of the e-text, and explaining what's going on with that, and also talking about what you need to do as far as your web page on DreamHost. Okay, so we're going to switch over to the e-text and how-tos for Head First HTML and CSS. We already did one for the introduction. You should have watched that, and this one is about the Chapter 1. So I'm going to open that up, and there's the cover of the book, but then we are talking about Chapter 1, which is titled Getting to Know HTML, which is the language of the web. And the authors start out with sort of a hokey picture here. It says, not so fast. To get to know me, you've got to speak the universal language, HTML and CSS. So it's a little bit of a joke there. And it's talking about how for you to be able to work with the web, you need to understand what HTML is. I'm going to see if I can zoom in a little bit more. There's a little bit bigger view. So get ready for some language lessons after this chapter. Not only are you going to be able to understand some basic elements of HTML, but you'll also be able to speak HTML with some style. So there's lots of things that go on in this chapter. So if you want to get the idea out there, or sell something, or to create, just be creative, you could go to the web. You can communicate over the internet on your website. But if you really want to use the web effectively, you've got to know a few things about HTML. And so this is a big, broad overview of what HTML is. So this is a diagram of in general, of how the internet works for the World Wide Web. So to make web pages, you create files that are written in HTML. So there's an icon that represents an HTML file. The HTML file is your web page, and it has instructions in it. It's instructions that will be meant for your web browser, which will be on your computer. So you notice that the HTML file is going to sit on the web server. Remember, I taught you that we're using the web servers at DreamHost. So DreamHost will be sitting here. That's the web server. Your HTML file will be saved onto DreamHost, and DreamHost will then deliver those web pages out to computers. So for example, you could be sitting here at your home using your Chromebook, and you could be looking at the HTML files that you create. Just like anybody else on the internet can get to your HTML files. So that's just a kind of a broad overview, but the important thing to understand is the DreamHost server would be shown represented right here as the web server. And we log on to the DreamHost server and we write our HTML files, but then we also can look at our web page, right? We can look at those HTML files using our web browser. So we're actually doing two things on DreamHost. We're editing the HTML files, and we're also looking at those files using our web browser. There's a lot of things going on there. What does the web server do? Well, the web server has a full-time job on the internet. It basically fulfills the request. It serves the requests from computers. A computer web browser will say, I need the HTML file, and the web server says, here I go, I found it, and I'm going to send it to you. So once again, the DreamHost web server will serve HTML files to the browsers. The web browser itself, we've talked about that before. The web browser makes requests. It's the thing that requests from the web server, and it also reads the HTML file from the web server. Once again, here's our DreamHost website, and here's your computer, and it's the DreamHost web server will be sending the HTML file out. So what do you write when you write HTML? So HTML is the hypertext markup language, and you've learned a little bit about it, but we actually have to write some different tags to make the HTML work. And already in our first exercise of this, we put in the HTML tag, right? That's the first tag. It needs to be the first tag in every web page. And in this exercise, we're learning about another tag called the head or header tag. Also the title tag. Notice that the title tag has an end tag to it. And by the way, this will come in a little bit, but this is marked with a legend. Okay, that's not part of the HTML. That's just a marker for it. There's the ending tag for the head. There's a body tag, and after the body tag, we have a H1 type of title tag. It says "Welcome to the Head First Lounge." And then this tag is going to give us, show us an image. Now, by the way, you're not writing this right now. You're just trying to understand these different tags. And here, what I like I said, what I recommend is that you look at the e-text yourself and read about it. A, B, C, D, E, F. All of these sections go along with what the web browser creates. So the code from section A creates this page title that goes at the very top, and the code from section B creates this. So if we go back up here, we look at the code from section A. This computer code right here, it says Head First Lounge, is what creates this title at the top, Head First Lounge. Your web browser reads it. And this code that says Welcome to the Head First Lounge with the H1 and the ending H1, that's part B. That is what goes with this, part B, Welcome to the Head First Lounge. Notice in part C there's a picture. So if we go back to that code, there's the code that makes the picture of the drinks. It says image source is equal to drinks GIF. And then this section, section D, this code that starts with a P, that P stands for paragraph, and that section is there. Notice we have this EM in section E. So if we scroll down here, we can see here's section D. Join us for an evening of refreshing elixirs. And in section E it says Dance Dance Revolution. Notice that was the EM tag. So the computer code right there for Dance Dance Revolution, right, is what created that emphasis, those italics. Finally, we end with section F and G that says directions, and you'll find us right in the center of downtown Webville. So spend some time looking back and forth at that different code to see what it actually does in your web page. By the way, we're going to be using this code and writing this code into our dream host web server, but hang on for that. Okay, so here's a page that has a lot of questions, so you may want to read about this. And there's no such thing as a dumb question. So, like, here's a question: how does the browser decide how to display the HTML? And the HTML tells your browser about the structure of your document, where the headings are, where the paragraphs are, where the text emphasis is, and so on. Giving all that information, browsers have built-in rules so they can display those elements. So browsers know how to read the HTML code. And there's some other questions here. I suggest you spend some time taking a look at that. Okay, now this is going to become an exercise. It actually is fairly simple. You basically take each line and you write down what the code does. So this code goes with this line, and your job is to write down what that code does. Okay, now this exercise, the answers to this are on the next page, so you can check as you do that. But this is going to be an assignment for you to fill in what each line of these codes is doing. Like, what does the P tag do? What does this line of code do? What does this line of code do? But the answers for this are already here, so you've got the answers created. Okay, so I'm going to stop the video. That's the first part of this. I'm going to make a second part for the next section of this chapter.